Hello? Okay, I'm checking. I got a phone call from a parent. A lot of parents are like, asking a lot of questions because this is like the first time for everybody. Like, so some parents had already done the online thing before, you know. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. So let me. All right. Let me. Okay. Where's? Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Okay. So I am. Okay. So I'm in. Okay, I see it right there. Okay, here is the link. Okay, yep. So I just sent the link to you. Yep. Yeah. So it was two ways I could have done it, and I was so I have the link where you could just watch the video. Then I have the Zoom link where you could join. So I was not sure if parents were interested in joining the link. So I said, okay, well let me send the regular link where you just watch it. But I also had the Zoom link where you could join. So I wasn't sure if parents would be interested in that. Mhm. Yeah, that's me. That's me because I didn't share my screen yet. Yeah, so you're looking at a boxing glove, correct? Yeah. You so you click the link. Does it have a title? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I'm going to switch the title. No, yeah. Just click the link, and whatever you're looking at, that's actually it. So I'm going to yeah. No, yeah. You are live right now. Yeah, I didn't get started yet. I think it's that's you know why? Because I didn't get started yet. I was just sending you the link. So right now I have to. Okay, look. Let me show you something so you can see. Mm, okay, so let me go here. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to share this right here. So you should be okay. So you should be able to see this right here. No, you're just waiting. You don't have to do anything. Okay, so you should be able to see the chat screen right now. Yeah, it's a delay, so you will definitely see it. No, you'll see it. It's a delay. Right. It's like a 10-second delay. So you're gonna see the delay. Because don't forget, I'm on Zoom, you're on YouTube. So you're gonna see a delay and then you're gonna see the video. So do you see it now? Yeah, that's me. Yes, Chess Online. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Okay, so we're looking at the chessboard right now. Let me. Whoa. So if you guys can hear me, type yes inside the comment box. Comment box. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna get started now. What you are looking at the analysis setup on chess.com. So this setup can help you out with your homework. It can help you out with practice. If you want to practice openings, tactics, if you want to practice end games. So I'm going to show you how to do that all here. And this is how you can make sure your game can develop pretty fast. I do everything here. Okay, so there's no way to avoid fast progression in chess without practice time. Like you need time to practice. Okay, so a lot of you guys probably don't play chess that often. You probably don't even practice that often. So I just want to let you know that I play probably 20 games a day in chess, and I practice maybe once every 3 days. Okay, but I play a lot of games every day. So when you guys have free time, if you want to be a good chess player, you got to play as much as I do, as or somewhat close, maybe 3 games a day. But if you're only playing once a day or once every week, then your progression will be that slow, that much slower than another child playing almost every day. And you'll see it with who wins trophies and who don't. Okay, so that pretty much come into the effort you put in the chess. So chess is no different than soccer. If you want to be good in soccer, you can't play once a week, once every 2 weeks. You got to play every day. And I guarantee you, the best person in your school plays during the games, during practice, and during practice with the team, and also home with their friends. They're playing probably every day. So chess is no different. You have to practice a lot if you want to get good. And why do you practice a lot? You practice a lot so you can see the pattern. So don't forget, chess is a puzzle. So if I mix these pieces around like this is going to form a pattern. Okay. So this pattern right here is called the Ruy Lopez, as you can see it right here. see my mouse? It says the Roy Lopez opening. So when we move these pieces around in particular squares, this pattern is called something. It's called the Roy Lopez opening. Okay, so you want to practice a lot in chess so you can get used to these patterns. And because most of them have names. So I'll show you another one. If you do a pattern like this, just these two moves, and this is called, let it load up. That's a reset. Okay. So pawn here, and you see right here, we have the French defense. So this, we only move 2 chess pieces, but it's a pattern, and this pattern is called the French defense. And this pattern can, it changes, and the name will change with the pattern. You play chess a lot, so you can recognize each pattern, and you know how to respond to each different pattern. Okay, but this is pattern recognition. If you don't remember the pattern, it's going to be hard. It might take you too long to figure it out. So when you play a game of chess, you're going to have a clock, especially online. Your game will be timed. So you want to find out the pattern a lot quicker than your opponent, because chess, you can win on time. You can win if your opponent time runs out before yours, and all you got to have is 1 pawn on the board, and you will win the game. It doesn't matter how many pieces they're up. They could be up 15 points, 25 points. If you have 1 pawn on the game, if you have 1 pawn in the game and their time runs out, you win the game. Okay, just that simple. So, but this all goes with pattern recognition. If I go, so we got the French there. We go here, this pattern, this is called this got to reset. Okay, so we got to reset somehow. It's not resetting automatically. Okay, so this pattern right here is called the Sicilian defense. So from this pawn being here, there's a different way white will respond from the pawn being here. Okay, and white will respond differently. And if the pawn is here, there's a different way we respond as white. And if this knight comes out here, because you don't always have to move a pawn first, you can move a knight first. Okay, so that's that on that. Okay, so let's see what's going. There we go. My video got turned on by mistake. So here we have it. This knight being here, you got to respond differently as white. Okay, so this is called the Alekhine defense. If we reset this chessboard, you would see that this is called the Alekhine's defense. So this is a different way you respond here. You can respond aggressive. So your first instinct is to push this pawn up. If you're a chess player, you want to save, when your piece is being attacked, you defend it by move, interpose, capture, or protect. So we can just move it up to attack the knight, but I wouldn't suggest that for beginners. That's an advanced move. The rule in chess is you shouldn't move this same piece twice. The rule is you should move a different piece each time it should go. Okay, so that's the rule in chess. So you want to move a different piece. So the different piece will be the knight. Okay, now you could protect with the pawn here. Okay, you should not protect with the pawn, your king's pawn. This is the bishop pawn, your king's bishop pawn. Okay, so let me explain that. Let's go back to here. Let's go to setup. And let's do, now this is how you can edit your own board in practice. So you'll start where it says learn, you will click where it says analysis. And this gives you the ability to edit your board. So you have setup here, you can click setup, and these are all the pieces. And if you look where it says white to move, look across, you see a trash can. If you hover over the trash can, it says clear board. So the board is clear. Now you could put pieces back one by one wherever you want, like that. If you want to hurry up and if you don't have time to put them back one by one, I believe this is it right here. This arrow says you hover over it, says reset board. You click that, they come out automatically on the original squares. Okay, you delete. So I'm gonna put a, let me do original squares. So let's get rid of all blacks pieces. Really. Okay. Let's make sure you can see my screen. Yep. All right. So this pawn, this is the rook's pawn, knight's pawn. Put that back. So this is the rook's pawn, knight's pawn, because the knight is above the pawn is above a knight. This is a bishop pawn. This is a queen's pawn. This is a king's pawn. This is a bishop pawn, knight's pawn, and rook's pawn. Okay, so that's how you name the pawns. Now there are two rook pawns. So how do we know we're talking about this rook pawn and not this rook pawn? Well, you have to say king's rook pawn, because the board is separate, or the board is divided by the king and queen. So everything from this pawn towards the right. So we can say everything from E, the king is on E, every pawn from E to H, these are all known as the king's pawns. And you look at the queen on D, every pawn from D to A are known as queen's pawns. These are all queen's pawns, okay? So this would be, the way you name them, you would say the queen's bishop pawn, because this pawn is above the bishop. This is just the queen's pawn. This is the queen's knight's pawn. This is the queen's rook's pawn. So to tell the difference between a rook pawn, this is the queen's rook's pawn, this is the king's rook's pawn. So the board is divided by, are the pieces on the king side or queen side? Okay. So again, we can click the reset button right here and we have everything back. If I was to start a game right now, which I'm going to show you. So let me, okay, it's logged out of my account. Let me log off my account. Let me log in on a Google account. I want to drop my rating too much. Okay. So I want to show you something. Let's get out of there. Let's go to, let's say 10 minutes. Okay, when you start a chess game, so this person is from Spain. They move their, which pawn is this? Is this the queen's pawn, king's bishop pawn, king's knight pawn, king's rook pawn? Is it the queen's bishop pawn, queen's knight pawn, or queen's rook pawn? So we got to be familiar with the terms. This is the king's pawn. Most of your games, when you're playing your opponent, they're either going to move the king's pawn or the queen's pawn. So I just want to show. So that was one game. This guy from Spain, he moved the king's pawn. So let's start another game. So this person is from a whole different region. This person's from Russia. And they also moved the king's pawn. So they're from a totally different country. We had Spain, that player did the king's pawn. And now we have this player from Russia who does the king's pawn. So I'm going to resign. I'm going to give you two more examples. So now we are white. We don't, of course, we're going to move king's pawn. So we don't count. Let's resign. Go back to, okay. So this person's from America, United States, and they moved the queen's pawn. So we got 3 games when they played white. 2 people moved the king's pawn, and 1 person moved the queen's pawn. You see how everybody's is always going to move a king's pawn or queen's pawn? So let me just resign this game and show you an example. Now you have to remember this. So of course we're white. We don't want to play. We just want to show them as white and point out what move they do. What is their first move? Resign again. So you can see at the top, that's a Scandinavian defense. Okay, so now it will be one weird person who does a knight move. Now, this is not a bad move for white. This can be called a waiting move. So I bring out my knight. So they're going to fianchetto. So it's always one person who might play a little unorthodox. They're from Colombia. So we had 4 games total when they played white. 3 did the traditional openings, a king pawn or queen's pawn. And this person right here, they open up with a knight and they're going to fianchetto. Fianchetto means you put your bishop above the knight. Okay, you make a little triangle with the pawns. This pawn does not go here. It goes here. You could do this in chess. It's a dangerous opening or defense because you leave your rook vulnerable to be captured. He's hanging. If something captures rook, you cannot capture back. So you got to be careful if you try fianchetto. Again, this is something you would do as you get better at chess. I wouldn't suggest it for intermediate players or beginners. So we're white. We don't want to play white. So we'll get one more example of our opponent. Okay, again, so this person from the United States, grandmaster, what they do? They did the king's pawn opening. So out of 5 games, I believe it was, yes, 5 games total. 3 people from 3 different countries. They played king's pawn opening. Okay, one person played the queen's pawn opening, and another person played an unorthodox opening, which was knight f3. So United States again. So most, from my experiences, most United States players, they are going to do king's pawn opening. So let's get somebody from a different country. All right. So I want them to play white, not black. So this person's from the United States. Okay. There we go. So this person from Brazil. Okay, and look what opening to do. I don't know what this is right here, okay? It must be some type of trick. But this is an unorthodox opening. Okay, I know what happened. So guys, what they wanted me to do was, they wanted me, this is weird. They wanted me to take this pawn, my bishop, and then they put their bishop here to take our pawn and rook. But that wouldn't work. We just can take that and just put it back. So this was a bad opening for Vinsny. Okay, United States, they're always going to do, not always, but most United States players will do the traditional openings, king's pawn or queen's pawn. So we don't want to count them. We expect that. Most chess teachers in the United States go by that standard rule. They teach the king's pawn opening. Some will teach the queen's pawn opening. Okay, so this person is from, wow, what country is this? International. That's a flag that you don't really see that often. Okay, now they played king's pawn opening. So this is I don't even know where this is at. International. So we will end that lesson right there, okay? So now we know that majority of players will play king e4. We'll play the king's pawn opening. Now you see why we, for the most part, only play a defense against king e4. We don't necessarily play defenses for a move like this. Okay, this is just a waiting move, by the way. So we would just open up standard. Okay, you wouldn't push your pawn here because the knight would take it. So I would just say, just do the same thing, kind of like a mirror game. Okay, so you can't put a pawn here without the knight taking it. Okay, but the lesson was, most players that you're going to play against, if they are white, they're going to do king's pawn opening, 2 squares, king e4. So we have defenses, different defenses that I teach you to counter the king's pawn opening. Okay, so let me just make sure everybody has the link. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, so I got some more friend requests to accept. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to send a link to a few more parents. Okay, so everybody who has sent an email, I'm sending you the chess link. Okay. So it's important to go over the basics because I've been watching children play and the basics have not set in with them. And also, we're going to do chess lessons more often. So in person, you guys have 1 hour for that one day each week. When I go online, I offer more classes, because I think more can get done. We don't have like the distractions you have in the library. So I'm sending a link to everyone who has sent an email. I might even sent it twice. So being that the children are so are there is there still school or just the libraries closed? Are the schools closed as well? So can somebody maybe send me that message in the WhatsApp or even on this inbox of the YouTube screen? Okay, so let me send the link again. So just bear with me. I'm going to send a link. So we're going to go online again tomorrow. You guys tell me a good time and we'll do like maybe a 3 hour gap. So don't be, if you miss a chess class, don't worry about it because I'm gonna try to do them as often as possible. And we're gonna try to cover everything as much as possible. Okay, so these rules, these principles can be embedded in your head. We had some students who've been around in my chess classes for more than a year. And when I put them on the staircase challenge yesterday, some of them fumbled. They didn't totally complete the staircase. So we are not practicing as much, or we're not getting the lessons not being beat down or drilled in. Okay, so just bear with me. Also, I need some volunteers. So I'm going to have a couple of you guys actually log into your Chess Dom account and we are going to watch you play chess. Yes, I'm going to share your screen. I'm going to follow your game. We're going to share your screen and everybody's going to watch you play. Also, we're going to watch you set up your own end games, staircase, queen, king, king, rook, Bambi, and we're going to watch you play against the computer, see how well you do. We'll even do duck, duck, goose for the more advanced players. You guys can try out a duck, duck, goose. You can try a knight, bishop, king, I was playing somebody online. I had a bishop and I had a pawn. And normally I would get a queen, but I wanted just to practice my end game. So I got a knight and I was able to checkmate the guy without my time running out or without going over the 50 move rule. Okay, so let's get back into the lesson. Okay, let me cover en passant, please. En passant, many people are confused. I watched you guys play live on my Goober chess accounts live, and your opponent has en passanted you, and you didn't know what to do. Okay, so I want to touch that real quickly. So let me push this pawn. Let's go. Oh, so I'm going to put my pawn here. Okay, guys. En passant is a reaction move. It's something you do after your opponent does something to you. Okay, so it's something they got to do to you. It's nothing you can do, or nothing you can initiate. They will do it to you, and you have to respond. So en passant can only happen. So keep this in mind, and I will go over it again. It can be drilled in. En passant is a move that is by a pawn. A pawn has to move 2 squares. Okay, it cannot move 1 square. So if that pawn has not moved 2 squares, please, it cannot be en passant. A pawn has to move 2 squares. So that's the first thing you got to know. At the very least, that pawn of your opponent or you will have to move your pawn 2 squares. Now, 2 squares to do what? They have to move 2 squares past your pawn. Past what? Past the challenging square. This is the challenging square. Okay? This is the challenging square. This pawn does not have a challenging square. It cannot challenge you. It can only block you. Okay, so this is the challenging square. This only happens on the first move of a pawn. So if I don't challenge your pawn, if I move my pawn 2 squares past your pawn without a challenge, that's called en passant. You can also do it over here. Let's say let's say a black pawn has came down. Okay, back up. Okay, how do we? There we go. Okay, so they want to let go of the. Okay, so if you move your pawn past your opponent's pawn without challenging it. Okay, if you move past your opponent's pawn without challenging their pawn, and you move 2 squares, not 1 square. So if you're already here and you move there, that is not en passant. Because you already challenged the pawn. There's always a challenge here. A challenge means you're attacking them. So if you're attacking their pawn and you decide not to capture but move past it, that is not en passant. En passant is when you move past a pawn without attacking it, and you have to move 2 squares. So if you move 2 squares past this pawn, that means you move past the attacking square, which is here, and you go there, that's called en passant. Okay, so what can your opponent do if you do en passant? They can pretend like you actually captured them. Let's go, you know what? Let's use a different, let's go here. Okay, because chess.com is playing really weird. All right, this is a better demonstration. Okay, so pawn is here, pawn is here. Okay, so if I want to move this white pawn, if I move 1 square, he's going to get me. So if I move 2 squares to avoid him getting me, that's called en passant. If this pawn wants to move without being captured by the white pawn, I will have to move 2 squares. Okay, let's put these in original squares. Okay, so if I want to move this pawn right here, 1 square, I will be captured. So to avoid being captured, if I move 2 squares, that's called en passant. So just think about it like that. Think about if your first move, if the pawn can capture you if you move one square, and you decide to avoid that challenge, that's called en passant, or avoid that capture, that's called en passant. Now, what happens when you en passant, they would just pretend like you actually challenged them there on the challenging square. This is the challenging square. Since you skip past the challenging square and move 2 squares, they can just put their pawn. They're allowed to move diagonal. You know, pawns only move diagonal during the capture, except during en passant. If you en passant your opponent, you move 2 squares past the challenging square here, they can put their pawn on the challenging square and take your pawn off the board. Yes, I know it looks weird, but that's legal in chess. Most children, if you play them in chess and they en passant you, if you take their pawn, they will be very confused, and they might even think you're cheating, and they might want you to put the pawn back. Just put the pawn back, because nothing you're going to say is going to convince them, because they had never been taught en passant. So just play their way, just put the pawn back and let them do what they do. Only people who have been taught correctly or been some type of chess class will know about en passant. So don't get yourself into a back and forth. This pawn right here, if I challenge you, you can capture me, no big deal. If I skip past the challenge, that's called en passant. Again, guys, you have to move 2 squares. They have to move 2 squares. If you already move 1 square, so let's say if it's like this. Let's say if you move 1 square, I move 1 square, and you move past me. Sorry, let's do that over. If I move 1 square, you move 1 square, and you move past me, that is not en passant, because I moved past you by making one move. I moved 1 square up. I did one move, but I moved 1 square up. I did not use 2 squares. Okay, so one more time. This is called 1 square, 1 square, 1 square. That's not en passant. If you jump past the pawn 2 squares, that's en passant. They can put their pawn on the challenging square and take your pawn off the board. And if you want practice in this, you could we're at livechess.org. You click learn, go to chess basics. Okay. And then go all the way down. You see where it says en passant? It says en passant, the special pawn move. You guys can go here for your practice. Click that. And look, you see the pawn passed me twice, the black pawn. So the arrow is saying that you have the right to put your pawn on the challenging square that the black pawn passed. So one more time. So watch the black queen's pawn move past my pawn by moving 2 squares. That's en passant. I have the right to put my pawn on the challenging square and take their pawn off the board. So this pawn had just moved past my pawn by a 2 square move. So now I could put my pawn diagonally on the square you didn't check, on the challenging square, the square you avoided. I could put my pawn there and take your pawn off the board, as you just seen. En passant again. So it's telling you that this is not en passant. So this pawn wouldn't go there. And the reason is, let me show you. See, they're already being challenged. So the black pawn was already challenging you. So that would not be considered en passant for this pawn. Real quickly, look at it. See, they're challenging each other. So that's not en passant, because there was a challenge. This never had a challenge with this pawn. Real fast. See, no challenge. They en passant you. So this pawn would not go there. That's not en passant. This one would go there. That pawn was never challenged. So again, this pawn was never challenged by the black pawn. It moved 2 squares past it. That's called en passant. You put your pawn in replace of it or on the challenging square, and you take the black pawn off. Okay, so now on livechess.org, the way you set the board up here, you could do a practice board here as well. Here, you don't need registration. You just go to tools, go to board editor. So first you want to type in livechess.com. livechess.org, pardon me, not .com, okay. Wait, let's see. Can't see. Yeah, livechess.org. So livechess.org, once you click that, you want to go to Tools, hover over Tools, and then click Board Editor. Here it starts off with a full game. You could practice your openings. You could just make the moves. You will play both sides, by the way. You want to clear board, press clear board. If you want to put the pieces back on the board, click this bar right here, click starting position, and the pieces are back, okay? So we want to clear board. We want to put a pawn here and a pawn here. Now, if I move one square to challenge you, then move past you by moving one square, that's not en passant because I move one square past you. Remember, it's 2 squares past you. If I go here and then there, that's not en passant. On my first move, it has to be a 2-square move, and pawns can only move 2 squares from the starting position. So the en passant will only happen when your pawn is on the 7th rank or the 2nd rank, or their pawn is on the 7th rank or 2nd rank. Okay, so let's go back to chess.com because that's where we're at. So again, you go to learn, you click analysis. The setup button, you can hit setup, you can hit the trash can, deletes everything. I have a video that explains how to do this. If you want that, I can send it. So let's go pawn. Now this is just basic chess, okay? Bishop is attacking knight. Knight is protected by the pawn. Pawns capture on diagonals, okay? Okay, go back over there. So live chess might work a little better. Live chess, board editor, clear board, knight, pawn and knight, same setup. And we have a black bishop, okay? So this bishop is 3 points, the knight is 3 points. This knight is considered protected because if the bishop captures the knight, the pawn captures the bishop. A bishop is 3 points, a knight is 3 points. That's called an even exchange. Okay. The knight is not protected. This is called, in chess, this is also called a hanging piece. A hanging piece is a chess piece that's out there that's not protected. So both pieces are hanging, the bishop and the knight and the pawn. Well, actually not the pawn. The pawn's protected by the knight. So let's put it right here. So right here, no pieces, all pieces are hanging. Nothing's protecting the bishop, nothing's protecting the knight, nothing's protecting the pawn, okay? So here, if you're playing chess, you will want to capture the knight and win the free exchange, 3-0. Let's see if your bishop is over here. So in this game, in this setup, you want to attack the hanging pieces. You can go here to attack the pawn because it's hanging. So this is your goal. This is what you want to do in chess, attack hanging pieces. Always look for hanging pieces. So we call it emprise. So here we attack the hanging pawn, or we can attack the hanging knight. Neither one is protected. If there's a rook right here, then you wouldn't attack the hanging pawn. It's protected by the rook. You would instead attack the hanging knight. If there's no protection and you don't want to go after 1 point, you'd rather go after 3 points. If you're playing white, you would just simply move your pawn twice and protect your knight. So you don't have to necessarily move your knight. This is called an even exchange, 3 for 3. As long as you exchange the same piece or the same points for the piece, it's not a bad exchange. They're both 3 points, so it's not a bad exchange. This is a bad exchange if you are white. Being that the rook is 5 and the bishop is 3, you don't want to protect your rook in this setup because this is profitable for black. So if you're playing black, guys, a lot of times you're playing chess in a chess class, and this is you're black, you're attacking the rook. They protect their rook, and then you guys will call me and say, Mr. Bob, can I capture the rook? Then I say, what have you been taught? Guys, you've been taught profitable exchanges. You've been taught pins. You've been taught discovery attacks. You've been taught forks. You don't have to ask me to do what you were taught. That's called a good move. It's a good tactic. So you're supposed to, if they protect their rook with a pawn, you're supposed to make the profitable exchange all the time. Take the rook, he'll take the bishop. You are up 5-3. If you do that a few more times, you're probably almost guaranteed to win the game. So never ask me if you shall make a profitable exchange. I encourage you to. So again, let's say if the knight is here, your pawn is here, and black is here. If you move your pawn up to attack the knight, and they move their pawn down to protect the knight, this is called a mismatch exchange, a pawn for knight. You want to make that capture immediately. Capture, they capture back. So in chess, this is a difficult game, guys. It's a game of puzzles, different setups. So every time there's a move made, the puzzle changes, and puzzles are designed to be perplexing, designed to be confusing, okay? So you have to sometimes, most times, take your time before you actually make your move. Never just look at a move no matter what, and you're gonna make it. Every time a move is being done, take your time and then make your move. So at least if your move is bad, at least you consider as much moves as you can possibly consider for your level. So I don't mind you making a bad move if you consider all the moves you had in your mind. But if you made a bad move and it was quick, like we witnessed yesterday, that's not what I have in mind. So always take your time and look for the best move. Okay. So again, this is livechess.org. This might be better to set up your matches. It's a little more hard to set up your practice, but I'm going to show you right now. So again, you go to tools, livechess.org, go to tools, go to board editor. It's going to always start a full game. You can clear the board. Okay, now I'm going to go over opposition. So we're going to work up the lessons. We start off with the obvious beginner moves, then we'll go to intermediate, then we'll go all the way to a discovery attack, okay? So we're going to do this often so it can be embedded in you. Okay, so let's get out of that. The kings, okay, we have a king here, black king there, and a white king here. This is called, when the kings are faced off like this, this is called opposition. So basically, when the kings are on the same file, they're both on file C, and they can't move any closer. So when the kings are on the same file and they can't move any closer, this is called opposition. Opposition, okay? So this is opposition on a file. Files are letters. Numbers are ranks. R-A-N-K-S, R-A-N-K-S, ranks. So we have the 8th rank. The kings are both on the 8th rank. This is not called opposition because we have two squares. They can actually come closer. I can move here or you can move here, okay? So that's not opposition. That's not direct opposition. Direct opposition is which I refer to just as opposition, means that the kings are on the same rank or file, so same number or letter, but they can't move any closer. This is opposition. This is important to know when the kings are in opposition. So you will know a lot of this when you do the king-rook endgame, all right? So we had a couple of students forget how to do the king-rook endgame. So opposition. So you might have an oppositional checkmate puzzle. Okay, you see your rook? When the kings are at opposition, you never check the king in the middle. You don't need to, because your king is blocking there, there, and there. So your rook, it blocks something different than the king. The king is doing his job. It's blocking his 3 squares. There, here, and here. So 1, 2, 3. We're blocking all of our squares. Now the rook has to do his job. He has to block the 2 remaining squares, which is there, there, and there. Okay, so the king's doing his job, blocking his squares. Now the rook, in opposition, by the way, in opposition, the king is always blocking 3 squares, and the rook has to block the 2 remaining squares. So just slide your rook over here, and your rook is blocking the 2 remaining squares, all right? So that's the oppositional checkmate. Just block the remaining squares. So let's put the kings, let's say here, and your rook is here. So your rook is in a great position. your king is in opposition. They can't move any closer, and you're blocking the 3 squares. Your king is always blocking 3 squares in opposition. Your rook will block the remaining 2, which is there and there, okay? The king can't jump over here, and it can't jump over here. So just remember that. Your king just blocked the remaining squares. So you want to block the squares from the king. So right now, if you're here, this king can access that square, this square, this square, there, 5 squares. If you position your king in opposition, and that means your king is blocking 3 squares, and your rook has to block the remaining 2. Checkmate. And this is how I look over here. Sometimes your rook might not be in the middle. It might just be over here. Same thing. Doesn't matter. Your king is still blocking 3 squares. And your rook needs to block the final 2, which are those 2. So let me just make sure we don't have any, make sure. Okay, so let me send another email. Somebody sent their email late, but that's okay. Okay, so this is called oppositional checkmate. The queen works the same way because the queen attacks like a rook. Just plant your queen there, just like a rook. It's checkmate. So the queen and king, they would check the king the same way in oppositional checkmate when the kings are in opposition, right? A back range checkmate is when you check the king with a rook or a queen, and the king has nowhere to move. Okay, so this king is locked in by his pawns. You would just move your king down here. That's called a back range checkmate. This happens a lot in chess, especially with beginners, guys. Some of you guys levels, this happens a lot. That's why I always say when your pieces start to disappear off the chessboard, that's when it's time to create a square, an escape square. We call that an escape square. This only happens not in the middle or beginning of the game. When most of your pieces disappear off the board or begin to get captured, and there's a rook or queen on the board, then you might want to create a hole, an escape square for your king. So when the rook checks you, no checkmate. So that's called back range checkmate. Okay. Now we will clear board again. So most of you guys know check, right? I don't think anybody here has not learned check. Check is just a simple attack on the king. If you move your rook there, you'll be captured, but you are checking the king. If you move your rook here, you won't be captured, and you're attacking the king. So just that simple. We won't stay here too long. So a check is just a special way to attack a king. If you were to attack something else, it would not be called a check. It would be a simple attack. If you move your rook here, you're attacking the knight. If you move your rook here, you're attacking the knight. An attack just means you move to a square where you can make a capture your very next move. Right now, you cannot capture the knight. Okay, you're on the wrong file and rank. You have to move over to capture the knight, B file, or move up to the 7th rank to capture the knight. Okay, so let's leave from there. Let's clear board. So again, livechess.org. Hit tools, hit board editor, and then clear board. So how do you play against the computer? How do you set up the chessboard where you can play against the computer, but you don't have to move both sides, okay? So we're gonna do staircase. So we're gonna line up the rooks. So most of you have learned staircase. All right, now if I make a move right now, the king will not move. It will sit there because I'm controlling both sides of the board. If you want the computer to play one side of the board or the losing side, you will have to hit continue from here. Then it asks you a question. It says play with friend or computer. You will play with computer because you want the computer to move. It asks you what level. Guys, select 8. Don't select any other lower level. Select 8. It's going to make you will need that. So right here is asking you, which king are you? You're the white king. Okay, so check. So in staircase, the goal is to chase the king to the back rank, 8th rank, where you can deliver checkmate. So you want him to go up the numbers because we're going to chase him towards 8. If he remains on 3 and 4, you'll never checkmate him. You need him to be on 8. So we checked him. He's attacking your rook. You must protect your rook. You got to play defense. You can protect sideways or up. We're not checkmating the king on the H file. We're going towards the 8th rank. So you want to go up. So now he's on the 4th rank. He moved to the 5th rank. So basically, you're just chasing after the king. When he moves up, you move up. So he moves to the next number. You move to the next number. So by doing that, you're cutting off the 4th rank. He can never return to the 4th rank. And you're just paying attention. You're going slow. Remember, go slow. Protect your rook. Okay? It's a staircase. The king is on the 5th rank. We can inch up a rook because by checking the king on the 5th rank, we also have our backup rook protecting the 4th rank. So he's forced to move up to the 6th rank. So protect your rook. Take your time. Okay, there's no chess clock on this. Take your time. He moved over. You can move any rook up. This is check. So again, this is kind of tricky. You would not move your rook here because he'll just move back down to the 6th rank. Right now, your rook is guarding the 6th rank. He can't move to, and he cannot access any square in the 6th rank. So this rook has to stay here. It's his go. You don't check him because you'll get your rook captured and you won't move left or right. You just keep moving your rooks up. You keep going forward. You'll move to a protect. This is called a protected square. This rook protects the square. See, this is a protected square. Again, just keep the pattern, check, then it's protect, then it's checkmate. Okay, then we're gonna move on from staircase. Again, tools, board editor, clear board, and we can do queen, king. You can put the king on A1, the queen on B2, and the black king on anywhere. But I always do maybe 2 squares on a different file from the queen. So we're 2 squares up on a different file. Remember, continue from here, play with computer, make sure it's level 8, select your king, you are the white king. And now the goal here is to chase this king on the H file. Remember, last time it was the 8th rank, the top. We're gonna chase this king to the side of the board, towards the H file, any one of these squares. You will do this without ever checking the king. If you find yourself checking the king, you have done this incorrectly. So what you do is you stay a file, or since we're going on the H file, you want to stay a letter behind him. So if he's on a C file, you want to be on the D file. If he's on the D file, you want to be on the C file. So you're always 1 letter behind this king in a particular pattern. You want to move your queen up 1 square. So you're closest possible without going past him and without being captured. So if you were to move here, the king can capture you, he can capture you, he can capture you, and this is going past him. Those are all bad squares. Okay, so the only closest square towards the king on the same letter, the same file, without being captured is B2. And this is called the L-shaped pattern, by the way. This is a nice L shape. So if the king moves diagonal up, then you move diagonal up. If the king moves diagonal down, you move diagonal down, but always go to a new letter. If he goes diagonal down, diagonal down. If he goes straight up, you go straight up. He went straight up, you go straight up. See? It's the same pattern. He went straight up, you go straight up. So you just follow after him. He goes diagonal down, you go diagonal down. So these are the things you should practice during your free time. So he's at H4, he went diagonal down, you go diagonal down. And your queen has locked, the queen has done its job. She has locked the king on the H file. If this king moves to the G file, that means he's not locked, then you did something incorrect. We locked the king on the H file. That means your queen doesn't have to move again. You want to get your king close to this king. So you don't want to block your queen. So your king never goes in the same file as your queen or his king. You want to be on a new letter from these two. Okay, so you want to get since your queen is on the G file, the king is on the bad king is on the H file, you want your king on the F file. You want to try to create an L-shaped position or even opposition with your king. So that's the goal. So watch how I move my king closer to this king, closer and closer and closer. Move. So I'm going towards this guy, either opposition or an L-shaped pattern. So he's going up, I go up. So I'm still going towards him. I will go towards opposition, okay? Now remember, so after your king, this is L-shaped, that's still good. You don't need to move your king anymore. We have checkmate in one move. This is why the checkmate puzzles are so important to do. So we'll deliver a checkmate. Okay, checkmate, white victorious. So one more time. So let's do. All right, so you guys playing black. We don't want to do that. Exit that. All right. So if you have trouble resetting, then just go to tools, just put everything back, tools, board editor, clear board. This is probably the easiest way to reset. Queen above the king in its position, and put your king 2 squares away from your queen. Continue from here, play with the computer, select your king, white king, and you're ready to go. Remember, you want to get closest to the king without being captured and without going past them. So these 3 squares are the capture squares. You can't move your queen there without being captured. He will capture you. If you go past the capture squares, that's too far. We don't go past the king. We go close as possible, but we don't go past him. L shape. Diagonal up, diagonal up. Diagonal down, diagonal down. Diagonal down, diagonal down. Straight up, straight up. Straight up, straight up. Diagonal down, diagonal down. Diagonal down, diagonal down. Now remember our queen, so you got to take your time. Don't move fast, you will mess this up. I noticed that my queen is on the G file. We're 1 letter away from him. That's perfect. He's stuck on the H file. So we don't need to move our queen again. This is all king work. Get your king close as possible, either in L-shaped position or opposition. But we can't be on the G file. Our queen has that. We can't be on the H file. That king has that. So we get our king on the new unoccupied file, which is the F file, in the L-shaped position or queen or opposition from the enemy's king. So opposition, and next move is checkmate. 1 move, checkmate. Take your time, make sure you deliver checkmate and not check. Okay, so again, we're gonna go to tools, board editor, and the hardest one for you guys is the king's rook versus king. So clear board. This is gonna be your hardest end game. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay, so you want your kings on the outside squares from each other, and you want your rook in the middle of the kings, separating the kings, okay? Neither king is supposed to cross over to the same file as the rook. So neither king is allowed to do that. This is illegal, that's check. So you cannot literally do that. But you don't want to block your king either. So if you block your king, this king can go over here. So you don't want to interpose your own king. So what you do is, so this pattern is a little tricky. Your rook follows the king. If the king goes right, you go right. If the king goes right, you go right. Okay. So, and then you're always one letter behind the king or one number. So the king is on E, our rook stays on D. If the king goes to F, our rook goes on E. It's real simple. We just chase them. Now, there's positions or times where we don't move a rook at all. We only move a rook to chase the king if he moves to a new letter. If he goes, he's on C. If he goes to C, we do not move our rook because he's on the same letter. He did not leave C. We move our king up to chase him. We're trying to form opposition, okay? And actually, we're trying to force him into opposition. We're trying to go to an L-shaped position. We're trying to get our king right there. That's L-shape. This is L-shape. This is called a knight's move away from the king. If this was a knight, this would be check, you see? So the knight is in an L-shaped position away from the king. So we want to get our king in a knight's move or knight's position away from the enemy's king without being on our rook's file. So you don't want to put your king, let's say, here. Because although you're in an L-shaped position, a knight's position, you just blocked your rook. So you want to be outside of your rook, but in an L-shaped position. So this is going to be just a quick reminder. We're going to move on. So again, continue from here. Play with computer. Select your king. And we can go towards the king. So he moved from the letter. That means you move your rook from the letter. Next letter. He moved from the letter. So what we do, guys, rook moves from the letter. Okay, he's keep moving over and over. So we keep moving over and over with our rook. Now he did not move, so you got to take your time and don't be so quick to move. He did not move from the letter. He moved up and down. He stayed on the letter. That's when your king gets close to him. Remember, you're trying to get your king on an L-shaped position from that king. But you got to take your time and look at the king. He moved from F. You see the little highlighted square? He moved from F to G. So we got to move from E to F. So when he moves to the next letter, your rook moves to the next letter. When he moves up and down, that's when your king moves. Okay, so he's still moving up and down. Your king gets closer and closer. Okay, he moved up. So now it's your king's move. You will go towards this guy. You would not go here or here. You will recreate the L-shaped position. So now we got him locked in. Now we just paste the black king. He moves up, remember? L-shaped move up. Because he's on the same square. He's on the same square, so the rook does not move. We move up, L-shaped position. So you chase the king in the L-shaped position. So now you force the black king into opposition. Remember, opposition is when the kings are on the same number or letter and they can't move another square because they will be attacking each other, which would be check. So this is called opposition. Now I gave you the oppositional checkmate example earlier. We check the king on the 2 squares you have access to. Remember, your king is blocking 3 squares. 1, 2, 3. That means this king only has access to 2 other squares, which is G7 and G5. So your rook must take the remaining 2 squares at all times. So is your go. He moved to H. Your rook is in great place. You're in G. You're the next letter away from that king. You don't put your king in opposition. Remember, you keep your king in an L-shaped position away. Nice L-shape. Nice L-shape. Nice L-shape. Okay, so he's clearly attacking your rook. If you play knight L-shape, he'll capture your rook. So again, you got to take your time and go slow. So what you're going to do is move your rook the furthest square away from the black king. That's at the top of the board. So you either, if you're running from the king's attack, you're either moving your king to the top of the board or the bottom of the board. No other square. Now, before you move again, you don't check the king. Remember, this is not opposition. They're not lined up on the 3rd rank. They're not both lined up here. This is opposition, where they're on the same number or letter and they can't move any closer. That's opposition. This is not opposition. This is the L-shaped position. So when it's the L-shaped position, your king is already in a great spot. You do not move. Your rook is blocking the G file. You keep blocking the G file. But this is called a waiting move. You have to move one square, but make sure you're safe away from the king. So as your go again, he moved down. He's on the same letter, so that means your rook does not move. Your king moves, and you just chase him and recreate the L-shaped position. L-shaped position. So from the checkmate in one puzzle that I demonstrated on the chessboard, in opposition, this is opposition. This white king is blocking 1, 2, 3 squares. So the rook has to block the remaining 2. Okay. So that is called king rook versus rook. That's a tough endgame to do. For the advanced players and some of the intermediate players, tools, board editor. So this is Bambi, clear board. Bambi starts off with the king on anywhere on the third rank. Your pawn is right behind you. The black king, this is opposition. Okay, so the rules. So this is a reminder. So this is not a lesson for people who have not learned this. This is not for you. I got to show you this, all in a lesson by itself. This is for those who have already learned Bambi and probably just forgot. Like yesterday, a couple of guys forgot Bambi. So in opposition with a pawn on the board, your pawn, you should not move your king first in opposition. You need them to move their king first. And this is how you're going to be able to advance your pawn to the 8th rank and get a queen and win the game. Queen, king versus king. So you have to be mindful of where the black king moves at all times. If he moves towards the right, he has recreated the L shape. This is the L shape. So what you do is you don't move your king in opposition. You never do that. You move your king. So you recreate your own L shape. Okay, but you always advance your king up. Never go on a diagonal. That's called a diagonal attack or a diagonal position with the kings. You don't want to do that. You move your king diagonally up. Okay, so if he goes here, he's on the D file like your pawn. So that means that he has intentions on capturing your pawn. You must always block the king, the black king, when he's on the same letter as your pawn. Block him. Interpose your pawn. So he goes here. What do we do with the king? We go what? Do we go opposition? No. Do we go backwards? No. Sideways? No. It's always advancing up. So we'll go diagonal up, recreating the L shape. He goes here. He's attacking our pawn. Sorry. He goes here. He's attacking our pawn. We just block, interpose. So the king goes. We're just waiting to see what the king does. He goes here. We recreate the L-shaped position. He goes here. We create opposition. Okay. Now, this is the trickiest part of this. What do we do next? Notice that he's back on the 8th rank. So all of our end games so far, whether we did king, rook, queen, king, or staircase, in order to checkmate the king, he was always either on the back rank, the bottom rank, or the side of the board, on the H file or A file. So he has to be either on the A file, 8th rank, 1st rank, or H file in order for this to work. So when you got him on the back rank and you're in the opposition position, you need to move your pawn twice. And then take your time. He's going to make a move. Just really, really try to pay attention to what square he moved to. He moved over here, so we keep the pattern. We don't do opposition. We don't go sideways. We don't go backwards ever. What you do is you create your L shape. He goes here. We push the pawn forward. He goes back. We push the pawn forward. He gets out the way, and we just go get a queen. Okay. So one more time. Set this up correctly. Here we go. So now, if you want to play against the computer, guys, now you can play against each other. You just gotta continue for here, play a friend. But if you want to play against the computer and Bambi, you can't leave it like this because it can't be your go in the position of opposition. This is opposition. If you want to win this game as white, It cannot be your go. So to set this up on livechess.org, you got to always have the black king, the enemy king, on at an L-shaped position of your king. Like that or like that. Then you start the show. Continue from here. Play with the computer. Select your king. Make sure it's on number 8. So he moved over. Let's see. You can see it. I'm not gonna show it. So this king was originally on D5 in opposition, but he moved to C5 out of opposition. So we have to create the L shape. Okay, let's just accept some friend requests from chess.com. Okay, so Lucas, if Lucas is still viewing, I'm going to need Lucas' mom to say yes in the WhatsApp group. If Saravin is still watching, I'm going to need Saravit's mom to say yes in the chat room. If Alan and Rich is still watching, I'm going to need their mom to say yes in the chat room because we're going to use those children as an example. So let's see who else. Kashia. If Kashia is watching, I'm going to need Kashia to say yes in the chat room. Now for the Saturday children, we're going to do a lesson for you guys. So this is pretty much, so basically I shared the link so everybody can watch this to get an idea of how the chess classes will be conducted. And we have more stuff than this. So, but this is for the children who had classes either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, could not make the classes for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. It could be fear of the virus or something else. This is for you, okay? We will have classes tomorrow. Again, I will make it, everybody will have access to the class, but it's going to be specifically designed for the children who would normally come on Saturdays. So the parents are going to give me their best time of the day, and I'm going to go over the classes, but it will be specifically designed for those children. So that's why if you're thinking like some children might say that this lesson is beneath them, that's because it wasn't really for you. It was for Richard and Alan. They're pretty much beginners. And then the end game was for Saravin. It was for Lucas and Kashia. So I'm going to do some more advanced stuff for Kashia. So I'm going to need to know which one of those 3 are, or 4 children who are still watching. And if they are not still watching, then I'm going to want to know what children are still watching that has a chess.com account. And we're going to use that child as the example. So I want to know who's actually watching so we can use that child as an example, but I'm going to still go forward. Okay, so we went over endgame. We did profitable exchange. We did protection. Okay, so now I got this to go. So now I'm going to show you guys give some examples of pins, forks, playing defense correctly. So I'm going to have to use my iPad for that. So 371, 371, 825. You might hear a noise. Okay. Let me turn that one down. All right, so let me unshare, and now I'm going to share from my iPad. Okay. Let's go to defense real fast. So when you're playing defense, there are four ways to play defense, okay, which is interpose, capture, protect, or move away. All right. So this is some of the stuff or the training you do in chess class. Elementary defense. Here we go. So when it says retreat, this just simply means move away. Okay. All right. Let me try to stop this echo. See if that works. All right. Okay. I got the echo to stop. Let's get out of there. So real quick. So retreating, guys. In order to play defense correctly, you need to know why you have to play defense. You're playing defense because you do not want a piece to be captured for free. You don't want to lose an exchange. So you don't want your opponent to have a profitable exchange. Okay. So you have to, it says it's whites go. It says white to move, retreat. And that just means move out the way, move out the way of danger. In order to solve this puzzle correctly, you have to first know who's in danger. Okay, so I see you, Kashia. So Kashia, what is your chess.com name? And Karthik, what is yours? Type in your screen name. Okay, so until you do that, I'm going to go over an actual game. So we open up a standard move. So this person is from Granada. I'm not gonna do anything fancy. Let's just do a standard opening, knight F3. So they did D6, okay? So they just, what they did was they protected this pawn a different way. You can protect this pawn with your knight on C6 or D6. We rather do with our knight. So we protect our king pawns with our queen knights. So we'll go bishop C4, standard Italian game. Maybe we can do the fried liver attack. So they pinned us. That's a good move. We castle. So this is a cool tactic that we can do. So in this position, this is why it's important to castle. So let's go D3 first. Now they got one more move to do the right move, and they didn't do it. So this is a great example of what not to do in chess. In chess, you focus on developing, getting your minor pieces out, not your pawns. So unfortunately, we have to do this. Check. That's called a sacrifice. Check. That's a discovery attack. Queen captures bishop. No problem. We'll take the queen, but our bishop is free. So we got the king to move. So we have an uncastled king. We have a bunch of pawns that are all isolated. So they got to spend most of the chess game trying to protect those pawns. And our knight and rooks, we're going to systematically take all the pawns. Okay, so let's play a little defense. New 10. So we're going to do a standard defense. E5. Defend with your knight. So our king's pawn is being attacked. Defend with your queen's knight. So again, so I showed this earlier. They want to take our knight. So we take back, and then our pawn is hanging. It's not protected. So you take your time, you see that, and you defend your pawn. So if they capture the knight, we can take back. Okay. So this is when you get rid of the bishop. Okay, so okay. Bishop gone. Pin the knight. Capture. The queen will come back. They're trying to wayward queen attack on us. So you got to pay attention. You got the white pawn attacking our F7 pawn, and you got the queen attacking our F7 pawn. So that's a scholar's mate. So if you didn't play that correctly, you would have been checkmated. Okay, now we have a fork opportunity. This is when tactics come to play. So I have you guys doing so many fork puzzles, pin puzzles, discovery attack puzzles, so you can see them when they become available. Knight D4. We have a fork on the queen and bishop. Whoever does not move, that's a piece we capture. As long as we're either even in the exchange or we are profitable. Never make a capture from a fork or any tactic if you're the losing side. So from here, we're just ready to castle. He's ready to castle, but that was free. He didn't protect that. So the queen want to find a way to fork us. It's not going to happen. So keep your eyes on the knight on the D5 pawn. Only the queen is protecting it. So once the queen leaves from that protection, we'll just snapshot it. So we're at 1 point because white didn't protect their E4 pawn. Okay. Capture, and you can interpose with. Oh, I thought this was gonna bring the queen down. Well, they couldn't. We had a pawn there. Okay. All right, castle quickly. If you want to get the queen out of there because it's annoying you, okay, so they offered exchange, take it. This means they plan on coming to our king side of the board to start trouble. So let's attack the queen. They plan on moving to our queen side of the board. Our bishop is a little useless, so let's try to create an open diagonal for it. Okay. So we're at 1 pawn. We're just waiting for black to move the rook, which he did. So you can offer an even exchange to get rid of the queen. You see the rook on E1 is hanging. Nobody's protecting him. So I can offer another exchange. And this time, if the queen denies the exchange, we can take the rook for free. And then the bishop. So the queen probably has to, not really, it can move to C3 or E3, and the rook's still protected. Okay, now, the queen didn't do that. It moved to D3. So you see, I prepare for the good moves of the queen to either capture us, move to C3 or E3. The queen moved to D3. That move does not protect the rook. So, but to see what the queen is going for our pawn on D5. Check, and the rook is next. The bishop is next. The queen doesn't interpose. It should have. It left the bishop. So they did all that to steal a pawn. Okay, so that was a standard game. Now I'm going to play a little advanced moves for the intermediate and advanced children. So E4, they're playing the Scandinavian. It's important to recognize the patterns. This pattern is Scandinavian. We take and then we attack the queen. Check, and go ahead, block with your queen. Bishop captures back because the knight belongs on F3. And there we go. We're one move away from castling. We are almost fully developed. Here we go. I see this pawn on C7 is hanging. There's nothing protecting it, so I can put my bishop onto F4 to attack the hanging pawn. Okay, you see the knight? You gotta be very patient. We can win the pawn, but look at the black knight. It's attacking our pawn on C2. So you gotta play defense, guys. You don't wanna give up pieces. Protect your pawn. You gotta be patient. Protect your pawn. We're gonna attack the knight, get the knight out of that good square. Okay. So now they're playing like this. All right, well, give us a pawn. You see the knight? It's on the same diagonal as the rook. So that's a good place for a pin with our bishop, a diagonal pin. Okay. So we can do that. Take. It's attacking our bishop. We can attack the rook. What? Okay, now think about the exchange. If we take the rook, they take our knight. Which one is more points? The rook or the knight? So this is an easy decision. This is called profitable exchange. Bishop takes back, not the pawn, unless you have to. You try to keep your pawns connected in front of your king. Okay, so that move right there means absolutely nothing. It's not attacking anything. We can attack the knight. Okay, so this is just a matter of just protecting your pieces. That person did not castle and it's too late. They cannot castle. They could just do queen side, but it wouldn't matter. We took too many pieces. Okay, so new 10. We're white again. They're playing a French defense. That means your opening tactics would not work. You need E5. So it's a standard opening. Knight F3. The bishop is stopping us from castling. Not really, but let's attack the bishop with the pawn. It's a little advanced play for the intermediate and advanced. Get your bishop out. You could go right there, protect our pawn. Other bishop, protect the other pawn. Okay, we can castle. Now we can create a nice pawn chain. right there. Knight can go on, the knight on B can go to D2. Okay, so I don't know what that is. Just move the pawn. That's a discouraged check, by the way. We have a bishop and pawn on the same diagonal of the knight. Okay, so don't ignore that. They just want their queen. So if we take the knight, what's going to happen? Their queen is going to get involved. Okay, so we just ignore that. Knight. Now we'll take the knight. Okay, that's why he took first. Uh-oh. Okay. So he's very aggressive. Let's back that up. Our knight is a target. I'm going to move it out the way. Oh, I moved the wrong piece. That was for the knight. Okay, no problem. You see the bishop? Their white bishop on B7. That's a problem, so we get rid of it. It looks like they're planning for a queenside castle. Okay, well, never mind. So the rook takes back. The rook is not protected. That's called a hanging rook. Queen comes and attacks it. So he was forced to move it out the way. Bishop attacks queen. Knight protects. Take back. Okay. So we have nothing here. Let's move our bishop to a safe square. Okay. So you don't want your king on the same file as a rook or a queen. So you move your king over. That just means you got to be mindful. Okay, whatever. Move your rook over. All right, all right, all right. Okay, you see the knight on A6 is hanging. Queen backs down away from the attack of the pawn, and the knight moves. We check. We take the knight, but we also have a check. Okay, he didn't protect the knight. That's a hanging knight. Capture. Okay, so now he's in big trouble. Okay, not a bad move at all. Not a bad move. We can ignore that. We can check the king. Okay, we can take now. Hey, bishop takes back. Okay, we got a check right here. I don't want that. We can add some pressure. Check. Check. It's a matter of just seeing all the free pieces. Okay, check. Let's go back with the, oh, that's free. Check. Okay, we could check right here with the knight protecting. Now this is when our rook gets involved. Check. Okay. So I can do a queen. Check. Let's get the queen out of there. Excuse me. So this only happened because we played defense at the same time as attacking the king. Okay, so do we have any? So we have a check here. Now I'm looking for a discovery. Well, that's checkmate. So checkmate. So if you notice, I use all of my pieces. So we can stop sharing. So we went over free captures, or what we call hanging pieces. We went over en passant. So these are the basics that you have to know. We went over protection, or the 4 ways to defend: protection, interpose, capture, and move. And I even showed examples from the training stuff that I give you guys, the training chess programs. We went over the opening tactics, the wayward, the scholar's mate, the Damien's defense, and the fry liver attack. And I even showed you how to stop those things. Okay, we went over pins. We went over this double discovery attacks, and we did one discovery check or discovery attack. We went over forks. We went over end games. We went over staircase, queen, king. We went over king, rook. Okay, we stopped right there. We even touched on how to set up the board to practice yourself. Livechess.org, and you can work on your end games there. You can work on your opening attacks there. I showed you how to play against the computer during your end games. Okay, you want to play against the computer during a regular game, you're going to lose. But if you set up an end game, the end games are designed for you to win. So it doesn't matter who plays for the opposite side, you're designed to win. So only you can lose the game by going against what you were taught, their particular pattern. We went over opposition and where to attack the king with the rook and queen. Okay, so the checkmates and ones are important. We're going to go over maybe a few more discovery attacks. I'm going to probably send homework on discovery attacks, on pins, forks. Okay, and we're going to go over more games. And tomorrow we'll do more online chess. It won't be as long as this one, but it'll probably be 2 hours. And I want to have some volunteer children to play chess on chess.com. So you'll be playing on your own account. I'm going to follow you. You got to first send me a friend request at ChessGoober2. You actually can send them at all the Goober iPads: ChessGoober 0, ChessGoober 1, 2, 3, and Shirley. So you actually can send a friend request to all of them. But for right now, focus on ChessGoober 2. That's the iPad I'm going to be using to demonstrate and use it to play games and everything else. So we're going to have somebody play chess from their own electronic device. I'm going to search your name on chess.com and follow your game. Then I'm going to share your game so everybody can see your game. So we can all see the position you're in. We can all see the opening you're using. We can all see the defense you are using. And when you're at a moment where you have a fork, pin, skewer, any of the tactics, we're going to all be looking, and we're going to be hoping that you see it yourself and execute. Only when you're in like big trouble may I step in and suggest a move. But we want to see what you have learned and how you can apply everything you've learned in a chess game to get a win. So even like the advanced children, same thing. Ved, Vasul, Akash, these guys can do the same thing. Steve, they can go online, Tavishi. We want them to log in and play their games. And we're going to watch you mod off. Agree it. Okay. You guys going to do the same thing. We're going to watch you play. Don't be nervous because we don't expect you to win every game. That's unrealistic. I don't win every game. I lose. In chess, you want to just win one more game than you lose. If you can do that, then you're going to be better than average, okay? But if you can win the majority of games, then you're on your way to something special, okay? So that's what we're doing. So tomorrow, I am going to also have you guys show us the end games. Like show us that you know how to set the end games up and complete them in the patterns that I taught. All right. So we're going to continue this tomorrow. I'm going to get a good time from the parents. We're going to get some suggestions, and then we'll have so based upon the suggestions, we'll do an average time when we go live. So it's time to take your practice serious. It's time to work on your end games, try to remember your openings and recall these patterns. These patterns pop up. You can wayward queen attack, not just in the beginning of the game. You can wayward attack in the dominant defense, the king's gambit. So it's just a position. It doesn't matter when it happens. It's when your queen is here, your bishop is there. That's a wayward queen attack position. It can happen in the beginning of the game, a little after the beginning, or the middle game. So I want you guys just to be accustomed, just recognizing whenever it reveals its face. And that's what this is all about. So tomorrow, I'll keep everybody posted on when we're going live again. And we want some volunteers to play the game on their own device. And we're going to watch you play. And, it's going to be fun. Okay, so till then, I'll keep you posted on the time.